first to the floor here. Pierce comes up with it. Hit the deck, first to the floor, making every big play for the Celtics today. Tatum knocks it away, trying to get it, dives.
What a play by Dave Cowher. Watch him dive for the ball right here. Look at this hustle.
Welcome into another episode of First to the Floor. Ben Vallis here. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Speaking of doing well, the Celtics are now 57-14. They've won 9 straight, and they currently hold the 4th best point differential of all time. Wayne Spooney and Jake Eisenberg are here. How's it going, guys?
Doing great. Yeah, my 54.5 over cashed in mid-March, so that's pretty nice. You don't see that very often. How you doing,
Nope.
Jake?
Oh, wow. I can't believe Ben included me in the intro for once. Unbelievable. Yeah, this is Jake. He's also here. My Celtics 60-plus wins is looking pretty good. Despite the Celtics just not playing any of their good players for a lot of these games, we're going to get to 60 like in our sleep. So doing pretty good. Sorry to disappoint Jamie D in the chat. Wasn't grabbing Fireball. Was just finishing some peanut butter and jam toast. And so my mouth just like needed a little moment to recover there. But we're back. We're in. Celtics are good. Let's ride.
Yeah, kicking it off with a bit of breakfast talk. I love it. All right, well, look, before we get into the Bulls game, the Pistons game, and we're going to get into the meat of the show, which is like 10 reasons why you should care about the final 11 games of the regular season or whatever it is, because you could be forgiven for having your focus and attention, I think, wavering at this point, given that pretty much everything is locked up, and some of that hinging on this Bucks OKC game happening at the moment. Some of us, I think, want to watch the game later, so we're going to keep the score quiet on this one, folks in the chat, if you don't mind. But before we get into that, please hit that like button, subscribe to the First to the Floor YouTube channel or the CLNS channels if you're watching over there. Help put this show in front of more people on the internet. Help put us in favor of the algorithm as well. If you want to watch live Celtics games with us, you can do so at playback.tv/CelticsBlog over at the Celtics blog playback room. Jump over to 3 Leaf Clover as well, Spoonie's regular column on Celtics blog. Sign up to our Discord. The Discord has become a hotbed of Celtics.
It's awesome.
It's amazing, the level of intelligence in that discussion, which I maintain. I have no part in it as well, but I enjoy consuming a lot of that content and then regurgitating a lot of it in a much more stupid tone on this show. You can also find in the description a link to our merch store. A lot of people have been jumping in and buying First to the Floor bucket hats and t-shirts and stuff like that, so check out the description for those links. And finally, if you like this show, check out the Celtics Lab show and the How About Them Celtics podcasts, both under the CLNS umbrella. Love those guys. If you enjoyed this show, you're definitely going to enjoy their shows as well. All right, guys, let's start with the Bulls game, and then we'll go in reverse chronological order. We'll hit the Pistons game after that. So the Celtics, they win 124-113, the 5th game in 7 nights. This one, I think, very impressive win again, given just it could have unbelievably or unforgivably rather been just a loss. You could have easily excused these guys for going into this one just being like I said, 5th game, 7 nights. Fuck it, this doesn't matter. We've got all the seeding situations locked up basically at this point. And yet, Jake, they go in there and outmath the Bulls.
Yep, they did outmath the Bulls. The mid-range assassin DeMar DeRozan locked up by Pro-Am P, who's just been on an absolute tear. But look, this game was... I actually thought this game could be one that they dropped just because, Wizards, Pistons... I don't care who the Celtics are rolling out there. I mean, it's not likely that they're going to lose these ones. But the Bulls, not quite a 500 team, but have at least been competent post Zach LaVine going down, like DeRozan, Desudmu, Celtics killer at times, like Caruso. They got some good players at least out there. So, the Celtics I thought maybe could drop this. It got down to a 5-point game with 7 minutes to go. 6 minutes to go, so we actually got a few reps, with a, going into clutch time. Colin Cowherd in the stands, prepared to watch Jason Tatum in clutch time, who was excellent in clutch time, despite looking pretty disinterested for the third and first half of the fourth quarters. Yeah, I enjoyed this one. This was probably the most fun of this weird stretch, kind of since we've exited the kind of the Nuggets Cavs game and the Bucks game too, but one of the more fun, resting half the guys. And we're going to get into the individual performances, but I'm just loving the depth performances on this team right now.
Yeah,
before we get
fun.
Spoonie's take, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Spoonie, but we've got
Hey!
Mrs. Spoonie, Jackie Spooner in the chat.
Mom.
calling out, Spoonie's mum in the chat calling out that it is Spoonie's birthday today. Happy birthday, Spoonie. I'm glad the Celtics were able to deliver a couple of wins over your birthday weekend for you, mate.
Appreciate that. Yes, thank you, Mom. That's not
Yes.
embarrassing at all.
Let's go, Mom.
So a couple nice W's, but this had all the trappings of like a bullshit loss, right?
Yeah.
Random role player who's not a great shooter, Torrey Craig, went like 3 for 3 from 3. Like DeRozan was getting into his stuff early. Caruso was lights out from 3. And you're just thinking like, oh man, this is going to be one of those games where like we get it close or we take the lead and then they hit some more BS shots. But the Celtics closed them out, dude. And yeah, the math was way in their favor. I think the Bulls took 24 threes and we made 21. And there's like basically no way to like overcome that. And then you add in the fact that Luke Cornett single-handedly dominated the offensive glass, man. He was everywhere, and he's just like so hyped up now these days. Like his energy level is so high on that end, and his timing's really good. And he just like Jake and I were talking about on the playback, like the way he just like floats on both sides of the dunker spot and in the lane. He's just really hard to box out now, and he's obviously enormous, which helps with rebounding, which he had a hilarious quote after the game where he's like, just work hard, kids. Also being really tall helps, which is wise words from Luke
Love
Cornett.
the honesty.
So like, even though I think especially the defense, this was not a great defensive performance for the Celtics at all. But if you dominate the offensive glass and you make 21 threes, you're probably going to win the game. And they did, with a great Tatum performance in the fourth quarter, maybe not overall.
Yeah, for JT, 6 points, 2 assists in the final 5 minutes of the game. And you hit on the 3-point makes, but the Celtics, they put up 48 3-point attempts to the Bulls 24, just a crazy disparity. And then the Celtics go on to shoot 42% from those attempts as well, and 12-3 in offensive rebounds, 23-2 in second chance points, which is just insane. Like, you're not going to beat a team that is just outmathing you from beyond the arc and dominating you on the boards on both ends as well. So, like, if you had to put the game down to 2 margins, it's absolutely that. I suppose we can get into JT a little bit before we explore the bench depth a little bit, because maybe like the more fun part of this game to evaluate is that bench depth. But Jason Tatum in this one, kind of the captain at the helm. What do you think of his performance in this one, Jake?
I thought he played a really great first half, and 7 for 13, 2 for 3 from 3, and me and Spoonie are watching this game, and oh wow, shout out Muzz in the chat.
Dude, thank you.
Yeah, I mean that's freedom dollars. We'll convert that for the Vegas trip. John Zanis Pie as well, asking me to run back a sultry Marilyn Monroe happy birthday rendition for Spoonie. Again, that feels like something that might happen more likely in Vegas. Not today. If it does happen, I'm sure someone will film it, unfortunately. But shout out Muzz31, regular legend.
Thank you.
But yeah, Tatum, first half, fantastic. We're talking about like, hey, if this guy's going to shoot like this for the rest of the season and into the playoffs, I mean, we're starting to get pretty big ideas here. And this actually feels like a little bit of a trend. Speaking of the Discord, Tyson in the Discord was talking about Tatum's second halves last 5 games. He's like 28% from the field in the second halves over the past 5 games, which like absolutely matches the eye test. And he's come out and had awesome first halves. So he had 23 in, I forget which game it was, 23 in the first half in a previous game, maybe in the Bucks game as well. And they're going up big, and it becomes quite clear that it's like, oh, we've got this game in hand. I can kind of take over at any point. And he kind of took over it down the stretch as well. So like, he's just moving the ball. He's just letting everybody get off, dude. Like truly, like he's letting these guys sing and moving the ball, and like some of the rebounding and defense, like he's still doing like that stuff. He could just kind of cruise his way to 26 and 6, and he actually, for him, 2 rebounds is just pitiful for Jason Tatum to be honest. But that's whatever, dude. Like we see the flashes of the superstar when he seems to be carrying in these first halves right now. He's just like unstoppable. And then really, most importantly, down the stretch, attacking guys, getting downhill, getting to the free throw line. If anything, that's, the most important. He has 6 points in the fourth quarter, 4 for 4 from the free throw line, 2 assists and a steal. It was clinical down the stretch. No tweet from Colin Cowherd in response to that clutch performance, unfortunately.
Yeah, imagine that. I can't believe Coward
Yeah.
didn't say anything about that. And he basically did the exact same thing in the Bucks game, where it's like great first half, cruises, then sees like, all right, I guess I got to go and win this game, and gets downhill, makes plays, gets the bucket, gets fouled. So it was a great last few minutes, forgettable third quarter, 1.5 quarters there in the second half. But I did really like his passing game the entire game. I did think he was willingly moving the ball, and I feel like he got back into the post a lot more, at least early in the first half. And maybe he wasn't like finishing or getting all the way to the rim, but he was like drawing doubles, drawing help, and then kicking out of the post. And I wonder if that's kind of a tune-up for what we'll see more in the postseason, because he was posting up a ton in the first half of the year. And then I felt like from January to sort of really recently, he's been doing it here and there, especially with favorable matchups, but definitely at a lower volume. And then last night, I mean, the Bulls have a lot of guys he can attack in the post. Like basically everybody on their team other than Torrey Craig, he can go out in the post. And I thought he did a really good job, at least keeping the offense moving and, letting the true superstar, Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser get buckets. That's what a role player does.
That's right.
Yeah. I want to spend most of our time on those two because they've been incredible these last couple of games. But JT, and we can say the same for JB as well. In recent years, I would call this active rest. Like you're out there, you're playing, you're not missing the game, but you're watching yourself and you're saving your legs for what's coming down the road there with the postseason. I want to get to. Oh, first of all, you mentioned Torrey Craig. Like this game would have been, we would have had a much bigger lead in this game, I think, if it wasn't for Torrey Craig hitting some absolute bullshit threes with hands up his nose earlier in the game. So shout out to Torrey Craig for hitting remarkable threes in this one. Al Horford, speaking of remarkable threes, 5 of 10 from beyond the arc in this one. The dude is 37 years old. I think biologically he's like a preteen. He's so young and vibrant. Yeah, he just does not age, and he has such a habit of giving the game what it needs. And this one, we're out a few starters. Al just gets out there, plays really solid defense, hits the boards. I mentioned the threes already, and really just being a stretch five in this one and filling the role of Porzingis very, very suitably and very reasonably well. And just playing off of Jason Tatum, I think, is the other thing that we've seen from Al Horford all the way back to year one of Tatum's career, where he just does such a good job of locating himself relative to how Tatum is attacking the defense and allowing himself to be that first pass away for JT, and just knows how open he can get based on the attention that JT attracts from the opposing defense. And he's just become, I think at this point, I have to check the percentages, but I feel like he's becoming more and more knocked down from three as the season progresses. It's almost like we're starting to awaken the outer crust, the outer layer of playoff Al. Like he can sense that it's coming, and all of his percentages are starting to gradually tick up. Spoonie, what do you think of Al's performance in this one?
Al is so good. Like he's not like Hauser. Like you'll see Hauser like whip around the 3-point arc when the ball gets entered into the post or something to try to get open. Like Al he's like an assassin. Like he just creeps in the shadows and takes a stealthy little step down into the corner. Or he lifts up just a little bit out of the corner to above the break. And he's just always wide open. I don't know why teams feel like they can help off of Al Horford. They should probably stop doing that. He's shooting like 44% from three since January 1, I'm pretty sure. So, and like, how is he so good at defense still? It doesn't make any sense. Like, it's unbelievable that he can still kind of switch a little bit, and he's just so smart on the defensive end. So, we've said a lot about Al, but we need to, because this dude is we're gonna have a tough time replacing him when he finally retires, which I guess is in 20 years if he's a preteen. So we got time.
Yes, his career's just started, really.
When that's we're gonna be well gone from this planet by the time Al Horford starts playing for the Celtics and stops knocking down threes. But
the sun will extinguish.
Yes.
So Ben, there is actually something to your feeling of Horford knocking down these threes now, and Spoonie, you're on it. But post All-Star break in 13 games, he's 46% from three and 100% from the free throw line. I'm probably like 3 from 3. It's a very low number. But like, I mean, who would have thought, dude? He took 10 threes yesterday. Like, it's just a crazy number. The level of willingness to take these threes is as important as anything. He is just so confident, so aggressive, and like in the year 2024, if I would have told you that he's just like easily easily the better player than Nikola Vucevic at this point, who's like 5 years younger. It's like, if you have Vucevic was a kind of an all-star guy 5 years ago, maybe Horford's out of the league. It's like, no, Horford, might, like, if we actually cared about winning an impact, would win Sixth Man of the Year this year, whereas Vucevic is on like one of the worst contracts in the NBA. Horford did. I mean, and he's attacking closeouts, flying through the air like a beautiful gazelle. Like, it's he's just in a groove right now, and the whole team is like, and he plays 31 minutes yesterday, but like, he doesn't play the night before, coming off 2 days rest. The way they're managing him is absolutely incredible. We had some numbers in the Discord kind of comparing his minutes last year to this year. Like, the total minutes are going to be quite kind of similar, but he played multiple 40-minute games last year. He's played none this year. The amount of 30 to 39-minute games way down this year. Like, it's they've just managed his load very, very effectively, which, we're all wishing to effectively manage Al Horford's load one way or another. And so to collectively manage it this effectively is really nice to see.
Yeah, well, managing loads. Let's talk about Peyton Pritchard very quickly, who's been incredible last couple of games. I think this shot, I wish I knew who to credit this photo to. If you're listening to the audio pod, then you'll have to check this out on YouTube. It's a great photo of Peyton Pritchard and Joe Mazzulla just hyping each other up as Pritchard knocks down another three. He has been on an insane tear. I don't think there's anything new I can say about that. He's kind of been dominating the headlines, at least as far as the regional news about the Celtics. Dan Greenberg had this tweet, which I believe Drew Carter mentioned on the broadcast last night. It goes on to say, Peyton Pritchard as a starter in 23-24, 18-4 on 8 on 52.5/45.5 splits. Steve Nash in his second MVP year, 18.8, 4.2, and 10.5 on 51 and 43.9 splits. So it's not exactly the same, but very, very similar. Same, but different there for Peyton Pritchard and MVP Steve Nash, which is incredible. Spoonie, what do you attribute to this likeness between PP and Nash?
He started the Nash comparisons began in the 3-leaf clover, dude. And I think,
Jake.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, I was all about PP Nashing well before it was cool. Okay, loved Greeny. I think he's going to come on soon. We were going to try to catch him last week, but let's calm down just a little bit. But
it's March. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Who gives a shit? Never mind. Peyton Pritchard's basically Steve Nash. Let's do it.
Thank you.
But even in his last 10 games, so an eighth of the season, pretty significant sample size, 12.5, 3.5, 5.2 assists per game on 46, 43, 100 shooting, and less than one turnover. In 10 games, like floating between starting lineup and the bench, like those are legitimate numbers, especially the 5 assists to less than one turnover. He's just so much more confident getting downhill. And, we've been talking about like the strength he's getting to the rim with. And then if he doesn't feel like he can finish, he does Nash it. He just keeps going through. He keeps moving the ball. And like he's starting to hit lobs a little more regularly too, which is something I feel like he didn't do a ton in years past. Like I just never thought he'd be this type of playmaker. And if this is real, like this is just kind of an entirely different level of player than we think Peyton Pritchard could have been, which is like kind of scary to think about. This team has him on 4 years, 28 million or 30 million or something like that.
Brad Stevens.
Yeah, dude. He's done it again. Like, and Pritchard, and listeners from earlier in the season will remember I was hard on Pritchard earlier in the year, and but the level of confidence and aggression is just on a different planet right now. And obviously we're going to talk more about this bench right here, but like he's bullying guys consistently now, like Troy Brown Jr. in the Pistons game, getting downhill, getting the shoulder in, Pat Connaughton, like getting offensive rebounds over Brook Lopez. And again, to shout out the Discord here, we've got some numbers from Steve in the Discord here. If you're watching on YouTube, we've got the images right here, but it's Peyton Pritchard's field goal attempts at the rim per 75 possessions month by month. And like after February into March, that's just massively ticked up here. And it absolutely matches the eye test. And then you look at his field goal percentage at the rim, he's up to 63.5% field goal percentage at the rim this year, which for a guard of his size is really good. It's really good. And like if he's going to be able to add this to his game, he started to do the thing that I've really wanted to do, where he's like kind of coming across the paint and just like taking these mid-range fadeaways and stuff. And he can just make shots. Like he can make shots from all over the court when it comes to jump shots. And so if he's going to be like 3-level scorer, feels like a strong thing to say, but he has been a 3-level scorer over the past little while here, and he doesn't need to be elite in these spots. But if he's going to be able to space you out to 30 feet on catch and shoots, coming off screens as well, and then be able to drive these closeouts, make plays, but also still finish in the mid-range at the rim, like an incredible bench piece. I've kind of got a little spicy question for you here. Like, Jrue Holiday out right now. No one's especially worried. He's looked good in pre-game warm-ups.
Yep.
Now, defensively, obviously, they're not the same player at all. Like, not in the same galaxy. If Jrue Holiday were to miss an extended period of time, first-round series, how much worse is the Celtics' offense if it's Peyton Pritchard playing the Jrue Holiday minutes, if at all?
Well, ability to get out in transition, which it will hopefully be a huge part of their offense. I know there's less transition frequency in the postseason, but just the amount of turnovers that Jrue is capable of creating, I think really spurs on our offense. So certainly in the half court, as far as the spacing that Pritchard offers, and certainly the knockdown three-point shooting, I agree there's a lot of similarity there. I do think that Jrue just sets us up a little bit better, even if not off misses or off turnovers. Transition off makes as well. Jrue is really solid at. As I say that, like, I can flash into my memory multiple occasions of Pritchard doing the same. So there's certainly less of a disparity offensively, I agree. Whereas defensively, it's like, it's the playoffs. There's a lot of half-court sets. Like, we need Jrue. But offensively, I think you're onto something there.
Yeah, I think there's a benefit to Drew's size on the offensive end too, where he can like post up mismatches. And Pritchard's done a good job like getting into guys or getting by guys, but I do trust Jrue a little bit more. It's like, all right, the offense is ground down. There's 7 seconds left. He can just take your point guard into the post and get a good look. And again, you know, Pritchard's been great at like getting into the mid-range game or getting downhill or hitting step back threes. But Drew's just got such a longer tenure of doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much worse it would. Not very much worse, but like no matter how good of a shooter Pritchard is, Jrue Holiday shooting 60% from the corners too. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty irreplaceable in a lot of ways. But yeah, I think Pritchard does a really good job pushing the pace, and Jrue does too. So I don't know, man. That's a great question. I think the answer is if it's any, it's a very small amount worse on the offensive end. But real quick on his rim numbers, the exact same rim efficiency as Tyrese Maxey. So like,
wow.
A high level guard finisher. That's what Pritchard's at right now this year.
What about defensively? Have you guys noticed anything there at all? This is just within the vacuum of the Bulls game, but I noticed a few possessions where guys like DeMar DeRozan, for example, they would get switched onto Pritchard and they would try and work out of that to try and get something. And Pritchard was just getting so low, and his base and his foundation seems to have gotten stronger because there are a number of possessions. One I wasn't able to find, unfortunately, but where Pritchard was able to force DeMar to pass out of that look. And I did get a couple of clips together here of Pritchard guarding one-on-one and either forcing misses or forcing guys to pass out of possessions or coming in for like really late offensive rebounds. I do think that Pritchard's defense has gotten slightly better, but you know, this point could just get completely nuked within a half of a first game in the playoffs. Once teams were able to sort of scheme with more focus on our personnel, they might take this point and make me look incredibly stupid just by going at Pritchard quickly. But I don't know, do you guys think that Pritchard's defense has improved in that regard at all?
I absolutely think his defense has improved. There's definitely a strength element to him at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's you can see that by the way he's able to get downhill. But also like the dog, dude. How much of defense is just like the tenacity and he has that in spades. Plus, I think he's actually a smart defender. So like, you know, there are guys like Malik Beasley's legitimately, I think, tried to play good defense a lot this year. But I think not only is he small, but he's also like doesn't have defensive IQ. And like Pritchard's been surrounded by Marcus Smart his entire NBA career. And I think that he's someone that I guarantee you is like trying to improve his defense and working on ways to stay in front of guys, get underneath them and cause them problems. He's not someone that like everybody can bully. And I think in the playoffs, Jimmy Butler, you can't have him on the court at the same time as Pritchard. Like there are some guys in the NBA that are really good at hunting mismatches and converting. Jimmy Butler, Peyton Pritchard can't do that. But the Eastern Conference, like, the Bucks don't really hunt mismatches like that. Like that being said, there's gonna be plenty of minutes available with Giannis on the bench. He isn't typically a guy that always plays those high 40s minutes. You know, he can obviously play with Dame. and you look at some of these other matchups, like if the Knicks are going to ISO Randall on Pritchard, like you can actually kind of take the Knicks out of their offense that way, and you can like send help and like force him to turn the ball over and stuff like that. The Sixers, I mean, assuming healthy Embiid, he can't be on the court at the same time as Embiid, but like there aren't that many teams that are like have a Jimmy Butler, are like a big scoring wing that are excellent in hunting mismatches in the East. And the way that Pritchard helps your offense, I do think that he's fine enough on defense where he can't play in a bunch of these series in a way that he wasn't able to in years past. And then we're seeing this little development. I think he's going to play in the playoffs. Like I think he can. Yeah,
especially first round.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I definitely think he's going to play in the playoffs. He seems laterally quicker to me this year. I don't know. Maybe he's just working on that. It's kind of a hard skill to get better at. But dude, it feels like people just don't ever go by him, and then you're shooting over the top of him, usually from mid range, and like. If you make that shot, fine. But Pritchard did a good job. Like he forced you into the worst shot in basketball, and if you make it because he's short, good job, dude. And his screen navigation and just like navigating, defending pick and rolls, I think he's done a really good job too. I think maybe that's some of that like Marcus Smart coaching tree stuff there, where Smart was so good at that, like doing your work early, getting up high early, so the screener doesn't really get you clean. And he's got really good defensive chemistry with like Cornette defending pick and rolls too, where like Cornette kind of corrals guys and lets Pritchard get back. And yeah, you're right. He's just so tenacious. He tries so hard that like he might be a slightly above average defensive player at this point, especially if you combine that with like his rebounding too for the guard position. So yeah, I think especially since last year, his defense has come a long way.
And the confidence, man. He was talking shit out there. I think he got to the free throw line for an N1, and then it might have been Torrey Craig he was barking at, like, that's an N1. That's an N1. And then he was yelling back at our bench, I think at the coaching staff, just being like, I don't know exactly what he was saying, obviously, but it was something like, see what I can do out here? And obviously barking at other players on the court. And that confidence, definitely you're seeing that manifest in guys like Luke Cornette, which we said, and Sam Hauser as well, whose confidence is just soaring. We've got a lot to get through here, guys, before we get to our ad break and then get to the actual main segment of this podcast. So maybe we can rapid fire through a few of these, including the Pistons game. And some of these apply to both. So Sam Hauser in this one, 23, 5, and 8. Over his last 3 games that he's played in, Sam Hauser is shooting 65.6% from deep on just under 11 attempts per game, Jake. Hauser, another guy who's surely going to play in the playoffs as well, right?
Nuts. It was already nuts that he wasn't playing last year, but it was just a roster thing with Grant Williams. But like the way that he impacts the offense, dude, while also being like a legitimately competent isolation defender, and especially in a team like the Bulls where like DeMar DeRozan that's what he's gonna do. He's gonna ISO you. Is ridiculous, dude. Like some of the shots that he's hitting yesterday are kind of out of this world, dude. Like he's putting up. I think I looked at it today. Like compared to Grant this year, Grant's played like 1,800 minutes to Hauser's 1,400 minutes, and Hauser's made like 60 more threes and making them at like a 44% clip versus Grant's 37%. And like not to pit them against each other, but I think it's just like what he does for this offense is completely different to what someone needs to be the wide open. Like he'll bail you out of possessions consistently. Like you got 3 seconds left on the clock, you find him coming off a screen. He can just being 6'7" with that quick release and the way that he shoots it, like kind of so high out of the hands, like he can just get that thing up there. And man, he like twists his ankle. You're like, maybe he's going to miss a couple of shots. No, he's just going to come back and like be on the same pace, like to maybe break the record coming here in the next couple of weeks. It's kind of crazy. He even hit the little the mid range pull up yesterday as well. Like
little dribble drive.
Yeah, dude.
Dribble drive pull up.
Yeah, I mean,
like Carmelo out there.
Exactly, dude. So yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So I compare Sam to Carmelo all the time, man. Yeah,
better
like
defender though.
Image. Yeah, that's probably
better.
it is. Yeah. So Hauser's like, I think he's gotten a lot better coming off of screens. I feel like it's something he did not do that much last year, and this year, like he creates so much space where I don't like it looks kind of like a travel when he catches the ball and like takes a step and then lands with the hop step and immediately it's out of his hands. But he covers so much ground and it gets him wide open, and he obviously like never misses that shot at this point anymore. His true shooting percentage over the Celtics last 15 games, so league average is like 57.5, 58%. He's at 75% true shooting percentage over his last 13 games, which is like,
like Rob Williams.
Yeah, exactly. He's broken basketball at this point. So it's just
crazy.
what a run, dude. And he looks so confident. Like he knows when those are going down. Like he's pimp walking like while the ball's in the air. He's like holding up the duck bill. Like it's crazy, man.
So lucky, I think, to be having this much fun given how locked up the season is at this point, and we're just like having crazy laughs talking about our deep bench here, or guys who have emerged from the deep bench and become a key part of the rotation. Let's try and consolidate a few points here so we can move on. So Cornette and O'Shea Brissett. Obviously, Cornette, the standout performance of the two, but 8 offensive boards between the two of them. I talked about the margins with second chance points. Those two, huge catalysts for our success in that regard. And O'Shea, perfect 3 of 3 from the floor in this one. Shooting has been questionable for him, but he really, wasn't taking many shots from deep in this one, but he really found his groove and found a way to impact the game while we're resting some of our other wings. Also, you need to call out Derek White, who the shot wasn't there for him in this game. He finished 17, 6, and 3 in this one, but had a couple of really clutch threes down the stretch in this one just to give us a little bit of a cushion so we could close this game out. So Derek White, great game despite the shot not being there. And that's just become uniform for Derek White, where the shot comes and goes, but his impact on the game never wavers. So I don't know. Any points on this Bulls game before we hit Pistons really quickly and move on?
Good to see O'Shea put the orange ball in the basket. That's always
right.
nice. Yeah,
Key part of the game.
Yeah, like that's, you don't get that from O'Shea very much. But if he's going to give you the energy plus like 3 for 3, that's a huge O'Shea game.
Yeah, dude. And, on Luke really quick, say what you want about Andre Drummond. Like, bar none, one of the best rebounders of all time. Like, legitimately, he's an incredible rebounder on both ends. Luke owned him on the glass. Like, there were multiple defensive rebounds that Luke got over Andre Drummond, which is something that we probably would not have been saying 3 months ago. So it just goes back to like all these bench guys are just playing so confident. They understand their roles so well. And then you just start playing a lot better when you're confident and understand what's expected of you. So like shout out to Luke, just beasting Drummond. Add him to the checklist, man. The Steve Buscemi hit list. Like Luke, get your lipstick out, buddy. Cross off Andre Drummond because it's over.
Man, I'm glad I called that guy.
Guy.
Now, the Pistons game, 129-102. This is the same band, maybe different album later in their career, a little bit more experimental. Maybe when the Chili Peppers changed guitarists for a little while there in the late 90s. Jaylen Brown, 13 of 19 from the floor for 33 points, 4 boards, 4 steals, but 4 turnovers. But he said after the game that the majority of his turnovers were made while trying to find his teammates, which if you're a longtime Celtics fan or even for a year or more, you'll know that the majority of his turnovers in the playoffs last year came from being stripped while attempting to drive. So that in itself is a huge turnaround despite the high turnover number there. But Jake, 57% from the line, despite having the comforts of home, the comforts of playing against Detroit, the comforts of JT out and him having all the usage going through him, still piss poor, for lack of a better term, from the free throw line.
I mean, if he's going to go 11 for 13 from the field, can he just go 0% from the free throw line? I'm not even sure if it matters. It is. I'm not. As far as concerns, it's probably that's probably up there because there's so few concerns on this Celtics team right now. Like Jalen's free throw percentage is in a bad place right now, and that's more. He's going to have to hit some big free throws in the playoffs, more likely than not. But if he's going to play this way, then they actually might not need to hit those free throws because the Celtics going to be winning by so much. Like if he's playing like this well, it's just so easy for him. It's never been this easy for him before. For 11 for 13, and it's just been night in, night out dominance. So yeah, I mean, it's the Pistons, and they were also banged up. No Durant, no Cade, but still pretty impressive for anyone to go 11 for 13.
Yeah, I know, like, the 3-ball is, like, all the way back for him, too. Like, last year and earlier this year, he was, like, floating around 34, 35%. And now he's just been absolutely stroking the ball from, like, anywhere on the court, from the corners, above the break, pull-ups, catch and shoot. And when his shot is going in, like, near 40% from 3, you can't do anything. He's just going to blow by you if you close out on him. And now, with him being an improved passer and playmaker, he has just such a massive positive impact. And I love how Mazzulla is just like running like shifts with the start. It's like, okay, JB and KP have the day shift, and then Tatum and Derek have the night shift. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, you guys are out. We'll get JB and KP in for next game. So I think that's the perfect way to do it. And JB just looks super fresh heading into the playoffs here. And he's just like maybe the most athletic he's ever looked, frankly. And that's a scary thought considering he's got like 30 more pounds of muscle on him.
Monster.
Yeah. Oh, dude, love Jaylen Brown. That's an understatement. Kristaps Porzingis came back in this one. There's some stuff to unpack there, but I think we'll save that for our next segment, which we'll get to after this ad break. The next segment, of course, being 10 reasons why you should pay extra special close attention to the remaining 11 games of this season. But first, a quick word from our sponsor.
The NBA playoffs are coming and the action on the floor is heating up. Whether it's these sad little teams that haven't locked up the number 1 seed and are fighting for seeding, or tournament season, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of year. Get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. Prize Picks even offers injury insurance, so that your entries stay live even if one of your players gets injured. For basketball games, if you have a player who exits in the first half and does not return in the second, that player projection won't count against you and the rest of your entry stays live. Porzingis sitting on a back-to-back, you know we're going for more on Horford points, rebounds, and assists. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less, it's that easy.
You heard the whispery Jake there. Prize Picks, use the code CLNS. It's honestly a really fun way to supplement your viewing experience. So I highly recommend checking out Prize Picks. And if you want to support the show and the CLNS network, when you sign up, use the promo code CLNS. Get a nice little deal there. Guys, 10 reasons why the regular season is still interesting. And the catalyst for this was after a recent show, Jake and I were hanging out in StreamYard after we went off live on YouTube. And I'm sort of saying to Jake, I don't know how I'm going to remain engaged at this point in the season because we've got everything locked up. All the narratives have already been written. And aside from staying healthy, which I pray for 10 times a day, nothing else is really going here in the regular season. And Jake snaps back at me, nah, mate, there's plenty to keep involved here, plenty to keep you engaged, which got me, my mind, working to think about the reasons to stay engaged in this one. And I think you guys have some pretty strong feelings and opinions on that as well. And it's the right time of the season to run a segment like this because, like I said up the top, I think other people's attentions are also wavering on how to stay engaged with this team until the playoffs start. So with that, Jake, I throw to you to kick us off here. What's the number one reason to stay focused on this team?
Well, first, to get a little philosophical here, you don't want to wish away your life. You don't want to wish away the regular season. You want to take every day, enjoy the small things. And Ben, I think engaged is actually a very apt term here. Three married men on the podcast here. And I kind of equate this part of the regular season as the bachelor party or the Bucks party to before the wedding. This is stress-free. You're not really planning anything. You just got to rock up. It's just drink some beers, play some golf. It's just a good time. There's no pressure. You don't got to do anything. It's just good times, right? And the playoffs are kind of like the wedding. You go, okay, pressure's on. You got to do a big speech. You got to do this intimate thing in front of all your friends and family. You're making this lifelong commitment. Like one of the best days of my life, but I was, shitting my pants beforehand, similar to how I just want to live day by day, rack these wins up, keep tweeting out historical point differentials and net ratings and, shotgunning drinks of variety of flavors. But, you're going to get to the wedding. It's going to be big. It's going to be amazing. We're going to get there, but there's going to be a moment. We're going to be down 9-2 maybe in the first quarter of game 1 against the Heat. And it's going to be like, oh, man. But then we're going to get through it. And in theory, we're going to win the title. We're going to go on the honeymoon and we're going to live our life. But this is the bachelor party. Enjoy March right here. Enjoy the Celtics playing the right way. And I think it's a testament to Joe. It's a testament to the culture that Jalen, Al, and Jason have set here. Jrue sacrificing. Like, it doesn't matter who's playing right now. Everybody's battling on the boards. Everybody's moving the ball. Everybody's empowered to be aggressive night in, night out, whether it's Hauser, whether it's Pritchard. Everybody's playing the right way. And, it's objectively, really good basketball to watch. So, the way that they're playing is fun basketball. And they're winning. So, just purely them playing Missoula Ball, shout out Joe, dude. He's coaching his ass off. He's loving these games. He's like the most emotive I've seen him in like the Pistons game and the Bulls game. So he's locked in, subbing Jalen Springer in for 4 seconds at the end of a quarter to lock somebody up. Like these guys are playing. These guys are valuing these reps and they're playing hard for the fans. And so I'm enjoying. I'm soaking it all in.
Dude, yeah, it's like you think Joe's locked in, he tried to block a shot. You know what I mean? Like that's how locked in that dude is. I think like, and even the deep bench guys, like the team personality obviously is very dependent on the Jays, but you can really tell Joe's personality has rubbed off on these guys because the intensity really doesn't slip 1 through 15 on the roster. And all these dudes know their jobs, know where they're supposed to be, and know their sets and like get into stuff. They run plays and 30-point blowouts with 2 minutes left in the game, and they all want to prove that they're NBA players or that they're getting better, that they might have a role in the playoffs, even if it is 4 seconds to box out on a free throw or whatever Springer came in for. And I just love the way Joe has approached this, and they're rewarding us caring about it because they're caring. They care, even in these blowouts. Like they're still playing hard.
Yeah, like the tip of the iceberg for all of this for us is we love basketball. We're fans of the game and we want to find ways to enjoy the game of basketball. And through that, we've all arrived at Celtics fandom in one way or another. This team at this juncture of the season, for whatever reason, are playing like the beautiful game. They're playing the game the right way, as both of you said. And that's just like objectively extremely entertaining to watch as a basketball fan. So I would agree with you guys on that point being like the number one reason to lock in. If you love basketball, this team has not given up on playing the right way. And that sort of brings me to my second point of why we need to stay focused on this team. I've written it this way. We need to ensure this team is playing the right way. Like we have some sort of control over that, but like you do kind of want to be magnetized to how they're playing so you get a sense of how to feel confidence-wise going into the postseason. So as well as enjoying it, watching and doing your best to make sure that they continue to play that way so that they're playing the right way when it comes to the playoffs. Have either of you guys got like a deeper cut, like a specific thing to focus on, a player or a play type or anything else as far as keeping an eye on this team?
I've got one. So we've talked a lot about Jason Tatum's playmaking and how it took a jump. And since January 1, 5.4 assists per game. He's at 4.9 for the season. And I went to war on Reddit years ago being like, he can get to 5 in a year. So I'm going to be tracking keep that improvement. Keep showing you're willing to move the ball. Keep making the right plays in the passing game. And please get to 5. I will go into that thread and I will comment comments from like 3 years ago. So I told you. So give me that, JT, please.
He's so close, dude. And he got a little bit closer yesterday with the 6 assists. I mean, from January, we've been talking about this is the best. He's been playmaking and passing the ball, and the way that he's doing it, with a smaller usage, finding guys, and it's just the willingness, man. Like he's a really good passer. He's been improving as a playmaker and a passer year in, year out, and to see that kind of come to fruition, and like it makes sense, dude. Like find guys, use your gravity, move the ball, and it comes back to you. Like there was a play. Here we go yesterday, and the only way I could get the full possession was through the playback. So here it comes here. But Tatum, he kind of gets the ball off the ball here, but I'll play it here.
That's about it.
Oh. Yeah, good move. Swing it. Go.
Nice
There we go.
pass.
That's good ball movement.
Let's
Bang.
go.
Good possession. Just fun time. So firstly, if you're not in the playback room, that's just what it is. It's just this, all of us together,
It is
enjoying the ride. And so like Tatum off ball, but like, Al Horford's been kind of driving closeouts like pretty aggressively lately, which
here
is
and there.
super exciting.
Yeah.
And all he has to do is just get that little advantage, swing, and Tatum, cooks Caruso off the dribble, and everybody collapses because it's Tatum, and he just finds Horford in the corner. Like, there's just so many weapons everywhere. Like, let the game come to him, and that's what he has been doing. So I feel like this is all going to kind of feed back up to our overarching point of playing the right way, and Tatum playing the right way of just making the right play in, night out. He's going to get to 5 assists easily, just the way that everybody else is playing. Like, you fire this thing to anybody, Pritchard, Horford, everybody's 40% plus right now. It's just spray that thing around.
Yeah.
They know who they are, and it's just Missoula ball your way to 5 assists for JT.
I think it's going to happen. Another thing I would add would be Kristaps Porzingis, and this is why I wanted to save it from the Pistons talk. He needs to find his rhythm coming back from the hamstring injury, one, but also adjust to the new rules. And it's kind of been a common part of the ongoing conversation that KP is maybe struggling the most when it comes to adjusting to the newly allowed physicality. And if you think this play is something that's allowed in the regular season, which is KP sets the screen, we get the switch, KP backs down the smaller guy, and we throw it to him at the nail for a post-up possession, we're going to spam that in the playoffs. And it seems like KP's been struggling with the allowed physicality that can then be brought to him in that position. And Jake, you're smiling here because I think you're probably just going to say, come on, man, like he's fine. He's going to be okay. But these are the neuroses that we have as Celtics fans. He has not had as much time as the other guys to adjust. And therefore, the product does look altered as far as what he's able to do out there on the court. So, Jake, I feel compelled to go to you because you've got something to say here. What are your thoughts on this?
It's just cracking me up. So, because we're all in the Discord together, and so we're always constantly talking about the Celtic stuff, and I feel like you made a comment somewhere being like, oof, we got to get, Kristaps in the rhythm. And I'm like, I can already, because we've spent a billion hours talking about basketball together, I'm like, I can already see where this is going for Ben. And I'm like, oh, he's concerned that the new rules have now rendered Kristaps Porzingis useless. Useless.
Yes.
So he missed 5 games, which was essentially the rules kind of, before that, he was playing pretty well, but then he missed a good chunk of time, and he's played 3 games since. He's played that first game back against the Pistons. He was awesome. He had a bad game against the Bucks, and yesterday, if I agree, he had a bad kind of first half, but he ended the game 7 for 15 and on 19 points, 2 for 6 from 3. It's actually not bad, 3 for 4 from the line. But I do think that you are. I'm making fun of the Ben neuroses because it's fun. But you are. I was thinking it too, and then it felt like they didn't need to put him in late in that Pistons game. And part of me, I'm sure you thought the same thing, is why is Kristaps in there? That's terrifying. But on the other hand, it felt like they went to him and he adjusted. And again, great place to get some reps is against the Pistons. And then in the fourth quarter, it felt like they went to him and he got some reps. And smaller sample size here, but 2 for 3 from the field on both of his 2-point attempts. But in the second half, he was 5 for 9. And so I do think there is something to him adjusting to that kind of stuff. But even on that, it's just it's good to have him back. They found him on the short roll. Even if he's having some issues with some of that physicality, you can find him in so many ways, and he can be effective as a roller. He can be effective in that short roll, popping those mid-range jumpers. But yeah, I do think there is actually something to him finding a rhythm after missing some time and adjusting to that kind of stuff. But I just enjoyed watching the brainworm make its way through the Discord and into this segment right here.
I can see the bead of sweat down Ben's forehead when he that thought comes to him.
You guys know me well.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing they changed the rules and get him used to the way they're going to call it in the playoffs now than we see in game 1, and he goes 6 of 18 and he's not getting any of those grifting foul calls he's got, and we're freaking out because oh my God, is the new guy not going to be able to handle it? So yeah, get him in rhythm now. It's perfect time to do it. I'm with you, Ben. I do think he's definitely tried to get some of those foul calls and not gone 100% to finish, and instead been trying to get the call, and they've not been getting that call. So I wonder, this happens a lot with NBA rule changes where they put an emphasis on something, and then in a month it just goes back to the way they were doing it before anyway. So I wonder if some of that will happen. But yeah, I'm with you, Jake. Even if he does struggle to be as dominant in post-ups because he's not getting fouls, he's still so varied. His offensive game is so varied. He's so elite at basically everything for a big man offensively that he'll be fine.
Well, sticking with player physical health, where is Jrue Holiday at physically? And Jake, you mentioned at the beginning of the show that there's been some footage of him shooting around pregame. Looks pretty good. He was money on those shots and getting those shots off with that effective right arm, right shoulder. that's going to be something to track as we head towards the postseason, because obviously we need Jrue on both ends. He's become this very important, critical part of the team. We've talked a lot in the last few weeks about how he's done an incredible job finding his rhythm and his flow within the team. Now he's there. Suddenly he's out with this AC joint sprain. The playoffs are on the very near horizon, and we're unsure what his timeline looks like. Reasons to watch this team is going to be, he's going to be back soon. I think he's out tomorrow, and we'll get to the injury report for the Hawks games soon. But when's he going to come back? What's he going to look like when he comes back, Spoonie? And on a scale of 1 to Ben Vallis, as someone said in the chat earlier, how worried are you?
Dude, I feel like the worst thing that happened is Jrue Holiday being like, I have a dead arm.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell does that mean, dude? Like, do you need to amputate? But
Sounds like
the
it.
Discord has like calmed me down a little bit because they're talking about AC joints, which I don't understand at all. But it sounds like probably not that big of a deal long term. But like, if there's one thing that worries me about this team, it's injuries. And like, it's good he's got a couple weeks here to play himself back into the groove. And it's such a shame because he was playing so damn good before he got hurt too. But, you know, let's keep an eye on Jrue, see if he's back to shooting 60% from the corners and kind of doing his Jrue Holiday stuff.
Yeah, I've done an AC joint myself back in my glory rugby days, 18 years old. Yeah, like 2-3 weeks. Two. Also, again, I'm not convinced this is like even serious or real. Like, he finished that Wizards game as well, and like, how much adrenaline do you really have in the midst of a Washington Wizards blowout? I think it was, and like, you know, Kristaps Porzingis misses those 5 games, and it's like, he's kind of said that if it was the playoffs, he would have been fine. And I wonder if they're doing a similar thing with Jrue Holiday here, where they can't kind of straight out say that you know, we're kind of resting him. You know, I like it. The Celtics are getting really good at faking injuries at the moment and getting away with it. So I'm choosing to believe that route. You know, we might have to pull out the thoracic outlet syndrome for Jason Tatum, the Markelle Fultz mystery injury, where he forgot how to shoot, which is absolutely fake, and so fits this kind of case use perfectly. But yeah, I think it's just 33 years old. If you're going to like kind of have the list of guys you want to get rested going into the playoffs, it's going to be KP, Horford, and Jrue, and they've kind of been managing, as we said, Horford pretty effectively all season long. And he's got that big toe sprain that seems to pop up every time there's a back-to-back. So the fact that they've been going to that excuse every time is pretty funny to me. Yeah. So I'm not too worried.
Yeah, as much as I like to stress out on this thing, I fully agree with you. I think AC maybe stands for A. See you in the playoffs, Jrue Holiday.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll let myself out after that terrible
Okay.
joke.
Jesus.
I know. Well, we're having fun here. Let's get to a few more points before we wrap this one up. Any of you guys got anything else as far as why people should? I know there's a few more things in our run sheet, so I'm asking somewhat rhetorically. But what else you got?
Tillman. Not the best 2-game stretch for Tillman, specifically the Pistons game. I feel like he kind of just got straight up benched and was having issues on the boards and kind of having some issues defensively. Now he's questionable with knee swelling tomorrow. And so I wonder if that was part of the reason why I think he was having issues in the last couple of games, and he's had injury concerns right when he got traded here as well. So that could be part of it, but I'm more interested in his offensive role. And we've talked a little bit about this on the pod as well, but you weren't on here, Spoonie, but like, they've got him spacing as a shooter right now, and everybody's like, they want him to be a shooter, and that's going to be his role. Like, let's see if there's something there. My thing is like, can we see if he can be effective in any offensive role first before we start testing out something that's massively theoretical to me, where he's like a bad free throw shooter, never been able to shoot threes effectively. Like, his, you know, best use as an offensive player so far has been short roll. He's got good in the floater range. He can kind of give you some offensive rebounding. If he's close to the rim, he can do a bunch of different stuff. But if he's spaced out to the corner, one, he's not being guarded at all. So it's like his defender's coming into the paint anyway. So he may as well also be in the paint, maybe floating around the dunker spot where he can take a pass and then, you know, the dump off, find help, good passer, keep the ball moving, as opposed to chucking up these bricks. I know he made a couple in his first couple of games, but like, I'm just out on him being like a shooter now for this playoff run. I it's complete wish casting to me. And I know people are hoping he turns into Aaron Baines as soon as the playoffs start, but I think we're maybe hoping for something that isn't real.
Yeah, and Joe is not doing him favors with playing him with Luke Cornett so much.
That
He's
too.
played more minutes with Cornett than he has Al Horford, and I just feel like Tillman and Horford make so much sense together, and then Cornett and Tillman don't really make any sense together on the offensive end. They both want to be in the same places. They want to do the same stuff. Like, you just can't have two dudes in opposite dunker spots anymore. Like, the offense just does not work anymore like that. And yeah, part of me is like, why the hell not see if he can like shoot it a little bit given where we are in the season? But I'm with you, Jake. There's like, he's not going to just become like a 34% 3-point shooter from the corners. Like he made, I think, one or two. And I was like, oh, maybe he's not even been close since he made that second one, dude. He's not even been close. So let's forget that. Put him in positions where he's actually going to do things in the playoffs so he can get used to playing with these guys and develop some chemistry with his short roll passing. So I'll be interested to see, because obviously KP and Horford are going to get a lot of rest in these last 11 games. So we'll see a lot of Tillman. And I'll be keeping a close eye on both ends too, because I think defensively he's been just fine. It's the offensive side of the ball where it's been not great at times.
Yeah, look, I think that the way that we use Tillman in the playoffs is going to be hugely different to how we're seeing at the moment. And this is Joe experimenting and trying shit, and probably like us hoping that a 3-point shot emerges out of nowhere for Tillman. The physical transformation into Al Horford has already been completed, so why not put the corner 3-point shot as well? But yeah, I agree with both of you. Like the way that we use Tillman in the postseason is going to be very different. And at some point, we probably have to start practicing using him that way. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
All right, Spoonie, what have you got? Bring us home here. One more.
Speaking of adjustments, I want to see Joe do some weird shit, like with schemes, with lineups. He's dug up the press again. Like, I feel like there was, like 2 months where we just didn't press, and now he's going back to it at times. We've almost forced a few turnovers. We're slowing teams down with that press too. And it's really hard to play against the Celtics defense when you have a full shot clock. Never mind when you're getting into your stuff with like 14, 13 seconds. Like, you basically can't generate a good look. So I want to see the press. I can't remember since we've gone to the 2-1-2 zone, and maybe that's because Jrue's been out. Why not try Tatum at the middle of that zone instead of Jrue? Like, let's try some creative stuff. Let's SPO it up a little bit, Joe.
It's a weird balance, right? Because like now you're getting towards the end of the season. Like, you've worked on a bunch of stuff throughout the year. How much do you want to keep practicing, and how much it's like, okay, we're shutting down the film. Like, we're not going. Have we stopped going to zone because it's like, okay, we're pretty comfortable in how we're running it. We don't really want to use it, but before we get there, like, how many adjustments do we really want to show before we get to the players? It is an interesting balance. But yeah, I'm here for weird lineups. Can we do triple bigs? I know Brad Stevens talked about it when we traded for Kristaps. Can we do Kristaps, Al Horford, Tillman, Tatum, and Jalen? Just a monster lineup. Like, yeah, Jalen's the smallest guy out there at like 6'6" or whatever. So that would be fun. Just for funsies, chuck it out there against the Hawks and have some fun.
Hell yeah, Joe. Let's get weird with it. I'm here for all the weird Joe shit. Absolutely. He's thrown some weird shit out there, both on the court and during press conferences all year. So that excites me. That gets me going. We were going to get into some playoff seeding probability stuff, but we're running long here, so we're going to save that for the next show. So let's get to this little Atlanta mini-series where the guys get to stay in Atlanta for a couple of days, get a bunch of rest between those two games, and just hang out in a warmer Georgia climate there. So the last couple of weeks, the Hawks are 2-5 with losses to shit teams like the Blazers, the Jazz, and the Lakers in that same 2-week stretch there. 11th in offense, 25th in defense. I believe Trae Young's still out with the hand situation as well, which is kind of tanked their offensive versatility by a huge degree. Spoonie, thoughts on this one, especially like trying to encompass everything we've just said and keeping that in mind as far as how the Celtics will approach these two games. What are your thoughts on the upcoming 2-game stretch?
Well, first, 4 days in Atlanta, one of the strip club capitals of the United States. Let's chill out,
Magic
boys.
City,
Come on,
baby. Let's go.
Yeah,
Magic City.
The proprietors of Magic City are just rubbing their hands together.
Yes.
Pepper chicken.
Yeah, that's right. The Lulu Will wings. This really weird is that Atlanta plays a game in between our games with them, which is bizarre. So they're on a back-to-back in that second
On the second
game
one.
against
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Nice.
It's nuts, dude. But yeah, I think we've really handled Atlanta, like especially without Trey. Their offense 11th in the last 2 weeks. I struggle to see how they score consistently against us. Like DeJounte's gonna get his. He's gonna get into the mid range, hit some pull ups. He's been shooting pretty good from 3 this year too, but not like super high volume. So DeJounte will get his 25, 26, and then I don't really know who else scores on us. I like Jalen Johnson a lot, but we have personnel that can match him with his size and his athleticism. And their defense is just completely putrid. And it's the Jake Eisenberg trademark, like teams that can slow our offense down are the ones I'm scared of. And Atlanta ain't that at all.
Yep. We got a comment in the chat here. Just going to address Joe's a weird dude. True, but we love him. Celtics haven't boxed out well all season. They have stabilized at 7th in defensive rebounding percentage. I just want to note that they've actually been pretty good once they had that little dip there lately. So, and the bench has been rebounding quite well too. So I'm gonna have to say that that's wrong, Mr. Ben Parlus in the chat. But other than that, just have to defend my guy Ty Coffee in the chat here because he's correct.
Good call out. Yeah, they really have stabilized that. I'd love to see what that looks like in the past couple of weeks as well. I would imagine the rebounding numbers and second chance points in the Bulls game alone has thrown a spanner in the works there, statistically speaking. Why do we end on this question? Because I think it's a good one. This came from our Discord as well. A lot of love going to the Discord on this show. Yeah. Rightfully so. Question is, with Jrue Holiday out tomorrow and the possibility of Derek White also getting a rest day, who do you guys think will get the backup guard minutes behind Peyton Pritchard? Another way of framing the question is like, who is the only other guard rostered by the Celtics? Spoonie, who do you think's getting that gig tomorrow?
So I mean,
don't say it's Jaden Springer. I'm not a. Come on.
There is another.
Oh, JD.
Yeah, you got
it.
I was trying to set
gets
you up.
A little run. Yeah, thank you. Oh man, yeah, I should have dunked that home instead of hit off my hands and went out of bounds. My bad.
Yeah. Years ago, we made a 20-minute video on JD Davison together.
My God.
JD's my guy. Yeah, he's amazing in transition. So as long as he doesn't have to run the half court offense, I think we'll be just fine. But why not, dude? Like Springer showed us basically nothing on the offensive end. I think JD is a better offensive player than him right now. He can actually like throw a lob and break somebody down off the dribble. So yeah, dude, give us some JD. He hasn't played any legitimate minutes all year. He's tearing it up in the G League. Give him his time, Joe. Give him his chance, buddy.
I'm here for JD. I mean, we all know who we really want to take these minutes, and it's Jordan Walsh. But man,
yes,
it just doesn't feel like like we're getting down to it here. It just doesn't feel like we're gonna get our slice of Jordan Walsh that we really hoped we were gonna get this season. Like maybe as we start to get a little closer, we'll see some more. But it feels like Springer's got those minutes ahead of him, and even JD potentially. So, but I would love to see JD actually play with some of the better guys because we're gonna have, I think, pretty much everybody for. So tomorrow we'll have no Jrue, no Derek, but I think we'll have everybody else. And then for that second Hawks game, I'm guessing we'll have everybody besides Jrue. So like, you get JD out there, play with, get some minutes with like the Jays, and like run some actions with those guys. Throw a pick and pop and pick and roll to Porzingis. So get him out there. Let the hair out. I want the hair out, not
That's
up.
right.
That'll be like my most important note for JD if he's going to get some real minutes. Let that thing fly.
Yeah, let the main flow. The main Celtics. Anyway,
Apologize
again.
Oh, no.
All right, that's enough for me, guys. I'll see you later.
We're going to wrap this up. This is getting bad. All on account of me as well. But yeah, like speaking of Joe doing weird shit, heliocentric Walshy is something that will never happen,
Of course.
but might be the name of my next band. All right, let's definitely wrap it up there. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. Hit that like button, subscribe. You guys know the drill. Spoonie, Jake, love your work, guys. Happy birthday again, Spoonie.
Happy
We'll be
birthday.
back.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. We'll be back later this week. Until then, go Celtics.
I love the Celtics!